a podcast where we talk about the works by Tamora Pierce. I'm Risa.
I'm Ariana.
And that's the intro.
That's the intro.
Oh my god, again.
We always like to also plug, well, I mean, to be fair, it's not part of the intro. Tamora Pierce's,
Patreon.
It is, she does have a Patreon,
Yeah,
but
Patreon.
I was going to say, there's something else that she likes people to donate to as well, because I just started following her on Twitter.
Yeah, you guys should 100% follow her on Twitter as well, because she posts links to things that support her, and also to support the authors and stuff that she cares about, and she thinks are worthy of our support. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what book are we talking about today, sister?
Today, we have ventured from the land of Tortall into a different world, in the land of Amelin. We are going to be reading the Circle of Magic books. The first one, aptly titled Sandry's book.
Is it aptly titled? I feel really bad for Sandry.
Sandry's book is not really Sandry's book, and it's so distressing.
It's so sad that everyone else gets to go on, in all of their books, they go on, they are the protagonist of this book. And then Sandry's book is yes, she's very essential to the very last bit, but otherwise, it's really everyone's book. Yeah, and I think the same thing happens with Magic Steps, and I'll get to that when we get to it.
When we get to that one, yeah. Give us a few months, and we'll get there. But yeah.
Sandry's book. What do we think? Is it a good book?
Yeah.
I love this book.
I love it.
End of podcast. See you guys next
there we
time.
go. Bye. Yeah, because I'm not going to spend an hour gushing about my babies.
Oh my god.
No, but yeah, this one is... It's such a fun difference between this and the Tortall books, just because it is a difference in her voice as well.
Yeah.
Because, while this is not the same technical story level as, the Kell books, it is so lovingly told and described, and I just... it's so good.
I have to say that I think this quartet counts as middle grade fiction, not young adult. And I think that is kind of clear in the structure, but it's still very well told. And it is a joy to read. And the world building and that she establishes in 200 pages is honestly amazing.
Really is.
That she adds so much to it to get us invested in this universe. And it's just in 200 pages, and it's just peppered in throughout. She just leaves you breadcrumbs to kind of then imagine things for yourself. I fucking love it. Okay.
Yeah.
We should probably get into it. We
should. All right. I got the odd chapters this week. So let's go. Chapter 1. We meet our babies. I will continue to refer to them pretty frequently as the babies, my babies, or our babies. Just so you guys are ready for that. We meet our babies in their dark moments. All the events I'm about to describe are happening to children. Little fucking 10-year-olds. Lady Sandry Faltorin.
I feel like one of them is 11. I feel like maybe they're all 11 except for Dasha is 10. I know Dasha's 10.
I know that they say
she's the youngest.
Briar's 10, and they're he couldn't be more than... he's 9 maybe, and but he doesn't actually know his birth. Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry.
Lady Sandry Faltorin has been trapped in a dark closet which has been magic to hide her. While this magic protected her from the mob which killed everyone, I'm going to tell this in a very joyful voice.
That's not what happened, though. It's not that the mob killed everyone. It's that smallpox came through. Okay. Her parents died of... it is so...
True.
The smallpox is it takes out the entire fucking place, and then it's being blamed. The smallpox is being blamed on there being foreigners. So then there is an attack on whatever castle they're staying at or embassy or what the fuck ever it is, because of that's not fully explained in this one.
It's not. That's why I was keeping it simple.
I just wanted it to be clear.
Okay. All right.
It has a huge, foreshadowing for later in the series.
Yeah. So anyway, she's been in this closet, and while it has kept her safe, the girl knows that it will also keep rescuers from finding her, since the only person who knew she was there, her nurse, is dead. So in the process of she's losing light and She knows that that's the last thing holding her sanity together. So rather than focus on it, she decides to focus on some of the crafting material she brought with her. I will frequently refer to it, by the way, as crafting material or Lark's Crafting Corner. I'm aware there are better names for them, but that's what we're going with. So she decides, since her light source is nearly burnt out, she decides she's going to braid magic into threads to create light. Like, there's no other way to describe it. Sandry just goes, no, I will do magic even though I have never before because I need to. Universe, make it so. And it does because she's Sandry. And the world is at her whim. Yeah. Daja Kisubo is a trader, a culture of seafaring traders who finds herself in the wake of a shipwreck, which killed her entire family, crew, everyone. She is no stranger.
I have to say that the trader, culture is one of the we learn so much about it in so few words. So good. It's so amazing. And the kind of, feeling we get of, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just, this rich culture, and we also know other people's views on this culture. And it's immediately clear of what we're supposed to think is going on. And it's just, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm just going to keep doing this. I'm just going to keep interjecting and keep talking about the world building because I fucking love it.
Anyway, so everybody else sank. So she... she is no stranger to sea death, so she knows that what she's in for. Without supplies or dry land, she won't survive. She sees Suraku, a trader survival chest made of metal, floating nearby, but it threatens to drift away from her. Daja instinctually reaches out and asks the metal to come to her. She laughs at herself for doing it, but, at the same time, she's still going to keep trying. And to her bewilderment, it obliges. So, Briar Moss, currently known as Roach, is a Dickensian street urchin / thief who has been caught and arrested again. His only respite in the squalor is the bed of moss he has grown in the corner of his cell. This being his third strike, the boy knows he is in for a world of trouble, so he just chills until his sentencing. Honestly, this kid's so fucking laid back.
I love this child.
I love all of these children.
Oh yeah, 100%. But Briar, the entire book just made me go, oh my god, I just want to, take him. Yeah. Just take him home with me. It's fine.
This is mine now. Thank you.
Yeah. It already happens in the book.
Yeah. Tristana Chandler comes from a family of merchants, staunchly in the middle of middle class. But they and everyone subsequently has cast her out. They think she's crazy and somehow, or possessed or haunted, or there's a lot of theories out there, but they're definitely certain it's not magic. But then she hears some of her dorm mates in a temple where she's living talking shit about her, and she gets all riled up and laying quietly in her bed. She accidentally weathers them. So I will also be using weather as a verb from here on out. It is at this time Niclaran Goldeneye arrives in each of their stories to save them. He finds Daja in the sea, brings Sandry light by seeing through the magic that hides her, takes custody of Triss and Briar in the temple and courtroom respectively, and brings the children with him. He is the good wizard in the story, which usually ends up being the doctor, so do with that what you will. Also of note, Roach gets the chance to name himself and decides on Briar Moss, Briar being notoriously thorny and guarded, while Moss is soft and forgiving. You gotta get through the Briar to get to the Moss. I love my boy so much.
Also, the fact that he chose Briar because one time he tried to climb the wall of a garden of a rich guy to steal stuff, and the briars that were on the wall liked him so much that they dug into his skin.
Because they liked him.
They did, it's amazing. Chapter 2! In Summersea in Emmeline, Nico takes Sandry to her great-uncle, Duke Verdus IV, the ruler of Emmeline, which I guess means Emmeline is a duchy? I am unclear of what any of these, but I mean, it's fantasy. These Duke could mean anything. Duke could be his first name. It's not his first name.
It's not his first name.
But I'm just, it's like, what?
You mean like Führer King Bradley?
Yes. King is his name. His name is King Bradley. Okay. But after Sandry admits that she doesn't want to go live with her Namornese relatives, her cousin is the Empress, Vedris...
I'm sure they won't come up again.
Oh, no. Veronine will never come up again. Ever. No. But on one side, she is the great niece of the Duke, the ruler of Emmeline. Mm-hmm. But then, on the other side, she is the cousin to the Empress of Namorn, which is a northern country, which is kind of supposed to be Russia a bit, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, so, Vedris or Verdis? What? Vedris.
Yeah, it's Vedris.
Thank you. He offers for Sandry to live with him, though he says it would be quite depressing for her. So Nico suggests that she go to the Winding Circle Temple, which is nearby, and everyone agrees to it. Yeah,
because totally. They were always going to agree, and Nico likes to pretend like there's a choice.
Yes. Off of the coast of Sotat, Daja and Nico await the trader's ruling on Daja's status. They declare her as Chongshi, bad luck, and give her a staff with a blank cap which may never receive engravings to show that other traders shouldn't interact with her lest they catch her bad luck. Daja accepts her fate, but Nico declares that he'll take her to Winding Circle Temple when they'll appreciate her. I love Nico.
Nico's so good. I really appreciate the adults in this book way more than I did the last time that I read this, because they're just, oh my god.
Yeah, you guys are going to hear me say it a lot. I would die for this person. It's just going to,
and it's always true.
It's always true. But in Sotat, Nico hires men to bathe Briar, which seems weird, but in the book it isn't, I swear. It seems like such a fucking weird and
it does.
Just squicky thing, but it's not. Somehow it's completely fine.
In all fairness, you know, he's a wild cat. Like, yes. He just is, so...
But Briar tells Nico that as soon as they reach the border, they're parting ways, but Nico then tempts him by saying that the Winding Circle Temple has some of the best gardens north of the Pebbled Sea. Briar pretends to not be interested until Nico mentions a greenhouse, something Briar has never heard of, which piques his interest. He's like, I mean, he's probably wrong, but, like, I don't know. We'll see. On a boat on the Pebbled Sea near Caption, the captain shows Triss his ropes with wind caught in them by trader mages, or memanders. We hear about memanders a lot in this book, so yes. They're the trader mages. Mm-hmm. Triss, the captain, and Nico all have dinner together. Topics move to the Mage University Lightsbridge, where Nico studied, and where Triss's cousin Amory studies. He'll be important later in the series, so don't forget him.
Will he, though?
Yes.
Yes.
When Nico asks if Triss wants to be a mage, a very sore spot with her, she runs out into the deck of the ship, where a storm is in progress. Triss then plays with ball lightning, like, as if it's an old friend, which I love. Triss sees that Nico is watching and she gets all huffy, like, that just happens all the time in this book. But he offers to take her to Winding Circle Temple. For a chance at being treated better than ever in her life, Triss agrees reluctantly. She's like... It gives her some hopes, and then she's like, but they're just going to be dashed, because my hopes are always... I'm like, oh, baby, this been poor... so...
Like, they just... Everybody threw this child away, and I hate it. Yeah. I hate it so much. Like, just leave her alone.
Yeah.
Chapter 3. Sandry sits with the other noble girls in a dining hall at Winding Circle Temple, and she's bored to tears. She then sees Daja being bullied for being a traitor. Essentially, they are Romani people in this world.
Yeah.
Like, that's essentially, so they're throwing a lot of, thief, oh, did you find any, did you come to steal some babies to sacrifice for your magic?
Yeah.
And it's like, Jesus Christ, these people.
It's very clear.
So anyway, Sandry sees this, and hating bullies, also probably thinking of Parisi, who was the nurse that hid her and died and was also of traitor culture, goes to befriend the girl, and she takes her into her protection. Daja tells her in traitor talk that she's getting into more trouble than she needs, and Sandry replies that she doesn't give a shit about the other nobles, and she tells the nobles off, but, you know.
She pours milk onto a girl's fucking plate, because she's just like, I'm sorry. Just pours it.
I didn't realize until this very this part right here how frequently Daja just grins.
Yeah.
Like dangerously grins. She's just like, hi. Yeah, you guys have to deal with me now.
Yeah.
This also just sets up that Daja doesn't fit in because people are prejudiced, and Sandry has no social filter and stands up for people. My babbies. Elsewhere, same place, Triss is just trying to mind her own business, yet she's being berated by temple dedicate because why are you so weird? If you weren't so weird and antisocial, you'd be better off. Not that I've heard this speech a bunch in my youth. Bitch won't step off, so Triss weathers her. People need to stop fucking with this kid. Like, just let her be. Later, when she's being left to the principal's office, essentially, Triss manages to summon a bolt of lightning to scare the dedicate. Briar is attacked in the boys' dorms at the temple under the guise that he stole something from one of the other boys. He uses his street smarts to point out the boy who was accusing him was the one that actually took the item. And by the way, Briar knows that it is a fake-ass item. It is not worth as much as the kid's saying it is. And he would never stoop so low as to steal something that shitty. Yeah. So, don't insult him. He's a thief. A good thief. But he gets in trouble anyway for having knives in his dorm. But clearly he needed them.
Yeah.
He got fucking attacked. They cornered him under his bed. Anyway, one by one, Nico picks up the four...
No, Daja goes for a walk.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I forgot, because I hate it. Daja goes for a walk without her traitor staff for the last time because she realizes that after this that she needs it for protection. She is attacked by some kids who were some of the kids who were picking on her in the dining hall. Jesus. She manages to get some hits in. She's a really good fighter with the staff. She manages to get some hits in. It's noted that she's the only one in the group who is brought to discipline for her own safety instead of those around her. And I hate it, because fuck these kids. They're horrible. Ugh. One by one, Nico picks the four up and plops them into Discipline Cottage. But he seems to have been expecting to do so anyway.
Oh, yeah. So, Nico walks Triss and Sandry, the last two to go, to discipline himself. On their way, another earthquake hits, which leaves Triss feeling sick and even more huffy than usual. They reach the cottage, which is beautiful. Read page 47 for description. Because it's just... Yeah. Leaving the road before they reached the temple's north entrance, Nico opened a small gate and led them down a path to a stone cottage. Framed by gardens, the house was neat and clean, the roof well thatched, the shutters and door painted dark green. On either side of the main building, the whitewashed stone supported additions. One was built of solid wood, pierced by windows. The other was a wooden frame with sheer cloth spanning its open sides. It's
like it's their rooms on the Spiritfarer ship.
Yeah, it's just... Honestly, it's so, ingrained. It's just this beautiful image to me. It's just it's like a happy place. And then I love it. When they entered, a boy with coarse-cut black hair was sniffing dried herbs that hung in bunches near the hearth. Briar can literally just not stop himself from fucking around with plants. He, even when it is actually detrimental to himself, he's still thinking about growing things, and I absolutely love this child.
Yes. Ugh.
We then meet Lark, one of the two Earth dedicates who run Discipline. Our moms. This is mom number one.
This is mom one.
Mom one, and then there's mom two. They're canonically, they are in a relationship. I want to put that out there. Yes. I had to argue with a childhood friend about this. I was like, no, they're obviously lesbians. Which isn't, to be fair, isn't true, because
they're in
a polyamorous relationship, and one of them is a lesbian and the other one is bi, canonically. So I love that.
We get into that in later books, so.
We do. I just think it's very... the representation in this world of, these different people is so good. It's like there are very few white people. Mm-hmm. Though technically we have two for main characters, so there's that. But it's just fantastic to me because Lark is described as having dark golden skin. Mm-hmm. Briar is described as having dark coppery skin. Daja is described to be a dark black girl.
Mm-hmm. Frostpine.
Frostpine is a deep black as well, is listed as he was just very dark black. I love this.
I want to say that Daja thinks he's just like so deep. It's that's like, important to me.
I like that she specifically went for darker skinned black people for her characters.
Yes.
I love that. I wish it was reflected in the book covers. Because the book covers that I've seen for Daja have been light-skinned, black representations. But that's, like, it's still the wealth of characters in this book. Like, Moonstream, the literal head of the Winding Circle Temple,
the principal,
is black. Yeah, basically Miss Principal. Yeah, but she's, like, the head of the temple. I don't remember what it is, but I love that. That's just something that's amazing to me about this. Like, and she makes all of the cultures so separate, and we see that in different parts. Oh my god. It's like, they're all, like, in this bit, when they're all meeting each other, Briar says, oh, a bunch of kids. You know, you throw a bunch of kids in here, and Sandry's like, why are we talking about baby goats? And Lark has to be like, kids is street cant for children.
Oh, it is so. Ugh.
And then they all adopt that. They all start saying it. They pick up on his thieves. Okay, sorry. Get back to it. They reach the cottage, which is beautiful. When they enter, they find Briar and Triss. Triss is racist about traders, which isn't a surprise. But it's still very disappointing. They all split up to pick their rooms. Briar and Sandry on the first floor, Triss and Daja on the second. Sandry gets the room attached to Lark's workshop, and Briar has the room attached to Rosethorn's shed, basically. Which I fucking love. But Sandry gets excited about the prospect of learning to weave, though she finds it unlikely since she's been told in the past that it's unladylike. She's like, oh, Lark weaves! It's literally just like an exclamation. Like,
yes.
Triss takes the room where she can see the outer wall of the temple near the sea. She also sees that she could easily sneak down the roof from there. Daja goes to her room where she's placed her suraku, where Sandry then joins her. They talk about how Sandry is wearing all black to mourn her parents. They have like this really nice talk about talking about like, oh, they're porcupines. Oh, I've seen porcupines before. Oh, at a menagerie? No, when I went to such and such place, right? And she specifically gets into it. God, I love it. Because this all sticks with me so much that I'm not even like looking at the book right now to be able to tell you what, they bring up the specific amphitheater. And, you know, Sandry says she's been there and, or Daja said something about it. And then Sandry says, yeah, it's not there anymore because it was used to they just piled up all of the dead from the smallpox and burned it down with them inside. And it's like, shit, man. And it's like, oh, that's why you're wearing all black. And so Daja then says, you know, it's like, yes, and that's why I'm wearing, no. Sandry then says, yeah, so that's why you're wearing all scarlet. Because that's how traders mourn. Briar sticks his nose in to show that he also knows trader talk. So Daja and Briar playfully annoy each other because they're good. They are like, to me, Daja has such a great relationship with all of the other characters.
Really,
I love them all so much. But, like, she and Briar are the most, like, they're even-headed. Like, they're practical, I think is a good way to put it. Is that when things are going on, those two will, like, come together to come up with practical solutions for the problems that are happening right now. In ways that the other two never have had to in their life as much. Because they didn't grow up in the same, like, they had dangerous lives, like, and shitty lives, don't get me wrong, but they weren't honestly, dangerous as a street urchin and being someone who is a traitor.
There are the two people who their class existence is a danger in and of itself, and then there's the two who, the merchant and the noble who, they encounter dangers, but their very life isn't all...
it wasn't just from being born. But, sorry. that I just love that. I love them together. They go down for midday and midday meal because it's like breakfast, midday, and supper.
Yeah.
It works. They go down for midday, and Lark sends Briar out to get Rosethorn, the other dead kid in charge, from her garden. When he can't see her immediately, Briar gets distracted because this boy has ADHD. But he gets distracted by the plants, and he goes to see them. He finds that they are very happy, and they welcome him. Rosethorn returns to see her plants reaching out to Briar and wrapping themselves around him. Rosethorn has to order the plants to let go of him so she can take him inside. It is such a good scene. Because Rosethorn is out there and, like, she's like, excuse me, basically. And Briar notices that she's tapping her feet and her feet are bare, like, she has no shoes on. And it's a specific thing that he thinks, oh, she also doesn't wear shoes to garden. Like, he's not wearing shoes, she's not wearing shoes. And it's just, like, this really cute thing. Briar and Rosethorn are just,
so good.
My God, it's such a, okay, but Rosethorn's like, okay, let him down. Put him down. And he's like, no, because if I come to you, then you're going to hit me. She's like, I don't hit children. He's like, yeah, all adults hit children. She's like, I won't hit you. And he's like, then you'll just hang me from the well. And she's like, no, I water my plants from there. I wouldn't poison it. I'm getting so in depth on chapter 4. I'm so sorry. There's so much about it that I love.
It is like our immediate introduction to like good stuff. Good stuff.
Rosethorn then gives them all a talk at midday about leaving her alone. She's like, you guys will do what Lark asks you to do. When you have problems, go to Lark. Leave me alone.
I don't do
She
kids.
likes children. I don't like children. And it's like, sure you don't. Sure you don't like children. But then she's just kind of, and then she just fucks off. And then all 4 of the children go, find out that each of them was brought to the temple by Nico. All 4 of them were brought by Nico, and they're all like, wait a second, what? Sandry brings an embroidery piece to Triss, who then snaps at her and tells her to leave her alone and hang out with people of her own rank. And Sandry's like, but we're the same! And Triss is like, no, we're not. Look, your slippers alone are worth more than anything I've ever worn. Like, it's
I'm a merchant. I know exactly how much everything you're wearing costs.
Mm-hmm.
She's like Aram Draper.
Yeah. But then when Sandry will leave, but she also leaves the embroidery. And Triss is like, opens it up and is like, wow, this is really pretty. Did she say she made this? No, it couldn't be. She must have taken, like, taken credit for her servant's work. Yeah, that's like a noble. Well, I guess I'll just hang it up, because if she comes to try and take it back, then I'll say she left it here and it was for me. So I'm keeping it.
She's like, I'm going to fight for this gift that she gave me. It's like, wait, honey.
She has to all of the children, specifically Triss and Briar, will always, like, it'll be like, they told themselves this, even though they knew it was a lie.
The mental gymnastics they go through are just adorable.
Daja follows Sandry downstairs and basically echoes what Triss said about Sandry needing to stick to people of her own class and genre.
That genre of people.
Yeah, it's fantasy people, nobility. Because it's like, it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
Sandry is very exasperated and explains that she's always had friends with people of all classes because her parents traveled a lot. Which, it's like, okay.
She's like, I hung out with whoever would hang out with me because people didn't want to hang out with
and the daughter's like, oh, so you had to make friends with lower class kids and traders. And Triss is like, yeah. And Sandry's like, yeah. Without any kind of, like, thought at how that sounds. She doesn't get, because she there's a lot.
You were saying about Sandra and Triss being the white characters in it, but they're also the ones that have to have their privilege checked frequently, and it's like, okay,
especially Triss gets really called on her bigotry. Like, I love that there is a negative repercussion for her racism.
Yes,
it's good to see. Okay. But then Daja leaves to go for a walk. End of the chapter.
And for her walk, chapter 5. It's one of the few times where it continues over.
Yeah.
Chapter 5. Daja grabs her staff because, as I said, she will never walk without it again. She wanders the grounds and finds herself drawn to the blacksmith's workshop. I forgot entirely how much I love Frostpine, but he's so good.
Yeah,
he's so good. I love him.
He's amazing. And he gets even more amazing in Coldfire, I have to say.
Oh my
and
God.
in Daja's book, but like...
Yeah. As I said, I really appreciate the way all 4 of these adults handle the children and handle, because throughout we see, I'll get to it, okay? Yeah. This is basically the chapter when it starts happening. So anyway, she finds Frostpine. There he is. And he's in the middle of making a door handle with his apprentice off running an errand. He asks Daja to help him, and she immediately is enchanted by the work and every sense metal work touches. It's great, because I do love that she really engages the senses in this book, Tamora Pierce, that is, because it's how things smell, how they taste magically, how what kind of sound you get from like hitting this kind of metal on this kind of metal, and it's a delight. Okay, his apprentice returns, and Frostpine asks Daja to stick around to, quote, mop his brow, though it's really just he wants to see her interacting with the metal. Nico comes to Triss with his dad face on, and takes her on a lovely walk to a sea cave. Side note, I always wanted to go to this cave. I would sit on the rocks in the Hoya Cove, and I would just... We can cut that part out, but like I would try to replicate that. Like... Just this scene, the way everything hits. Ugh. Anyway, Nico notes that Triss needs to learn to control her temper so she doesn't weather someone to death. He teaches her to meditate, using the cues of the waves crashing to dictate her breath. She gives in and truly lets herself be a part of the weather/world. This is one that I wanted to describe in detail, but guys, if you didn't read the book before this, just go read that, because it is a beautiful... Honestly, the descriptions when the kids are meditating... Just lovely. Yeah. Meanwhile, Briar runs an errand for Lark and uses it as an excuse to find the greenhouse. He finds it and is drawn to a plant he sees just as the plant is drawn to him. He knows it's sick but doesn't know why he knows it. Just then he meets Dedicate Crane, who demands to know who is spying on his greenhouse. He is a very crazy man.
It's apparently a hot piece of ass, too.
Apparently.
Sorry.
He finds out Briar is from Discipline and accuses him of actually spying for Rosethorn. So Briar wisely just dips out. He's like, well,
will this make more...
Gotta run.
Will this make more problems for me later? Probably. But gets me out of here now.
You know what? I'm just going to start this trend where I just run from this man.
Yeah.
Sandry goes into Lark's crafting area and starts lovingly touching the materials. She notes the fibers seem to reach out for her skin. Lark pops up behind her, as she is oft to do, and explains that is her favorite material. She commands some errant fibers to let go of Sandry and explains to the girl that wool isn't usually disobedient, but it was excited to see her. So good. Just like Briar and the vines getting him. It's just, She then starts teaching Sandry to use the drop spindle. Lark guides Sandry through the process, but also guides her in a meditative way. So, like, she's telling her how to do it, but then she also goes, okay, now close your eyes and think of this. And the thread she makes is lumpy and uneven, but Lark tells her to keep it because it's important. She explains that the lumps are when Sandry was thinking about a new life, but she doesn't bother to explain what that means. So, you know, it's like, okay, so lumps were created. I don't get it. Back home that night for supper, Lark and Rosethorn go over the children's schedules, rules, and chores. They tell the kids they will be learning to meditate in a group with Nico in the afternoons. This honestly the best time to teach children to meditate. Can we replace nap time with meditation time? The kids are distracted by their day. Nico shows up to accompany everyone to the baths and to act as Briar's guardian in the penis havers baths. Daja contemplates what her family would think of her helping Frostpine. Traders don't do manual labor. They trade in the goods those workers make. Of course, she notes that they had beat her in the past for watching metal workers. And I'm like, baby, maybe your family sucked and deserved to drown.
They did not deserve to drown.
I mean, maybe. I think they did, because they made her feel this way.
Okay, chapter 6. This scene is so fucking cute, and I can't go play by play, or I just have to paste the entire fucking thing here. So they're all eating porridge, and everyone starts to mother Briar. Briar's just, like, scarfing it down, and Sandry's like, okay, if you're gonna eat fast, at least, well, she says slow down. But then she gives him some milk and honey to it, and he's like, oh, I don't need this. And then he tries it, and he's like, oh my god, I didn't know porridge could taste good. And then Rosethorn is like, well, if we're all getting fancy, and she goes and she gets cinnamon, which none of them have ever tried before. And she talks about how Crane is trying to grow it in his greenhouse, but he can't.
She gets very arch when she talks about Crane. Yeah. She's like,
Rosethorn
that fool.
Yeah. She then complains that Dedicate Crane, who runs the greenhouse, and how he's tricking plants into giving up their rest time. He's trying to trick them out of their seasons. And Briar's like, they have to die? And she's like, they're not dying, they're resting. And then she puts another...
You fucking idiot!
Rosethorn gets... Like, and after Briar finishes eating and they're all still there, so Rosethorn takes his empty bowl and puts another ladle of porridge in and gives it back. And Lark, like, slyly looks at her, and Rosethorn's like, he needs to put on weight.
Look at him.
He's all skin and bones.
Come on.
After they all finish their chores, Lark sends them to meet Nico at the hub. On their way, they come across the boys who ganged up on Briar in the boys' dorms. The boys try to start a fight, but when Triss starts making the air go all crackly, Sandry ushers them away before anything can happen.
One of the few times she prevents a fight.
Yes, one of the few times. Sandry's much like Kel.
Yeah.
In the fact that she's like, well, no one's going to start this fight other than me, so I might as well do it.
I can relate to Sandry so hard sometimes.
Yeah, no, reading this time, I'm like, wow, Sandry is very Ariana. And also on my latest ones, I'm just, man, am I Rosethorn. Yeah. But, right. They go to the hub, right. They all go do a meditating lesson with Nico in a floor of the hub so magic can't leak out of it, which they're all like, huh, weird.
Huh, that's weird. Let's go.
On one floor, there are people doing divination by listening on the wind, and this makes Triss like, what? Because she thought the voices she heard on the wind were just her going crazy.
Because that's what happens when people tell you it's just you being crazy.
Yeah. Briar and Triss, then when they all get back, Briar and Triss chill on the roof during the rest period. With another cute Briar thing where he's like, I don't want to have to hear a girl babble. And then Triss doesn't talk, so he's like, okay, what you doing? And then they
obviously I'm going to have to drag whatever's going on out of her. It's like, Briar, you don't have to do shit, man.
He's just like, other people just babble so much. And so what's going on with your day? How you doing? But they watch the clouds form, and then he realizes he doesn't want Triss to leave, and he's like, and he realizes that, she probably wasn't going to leave, and he realized that he's glad, or something like that.
Yeah.
I just love Triss and Briar as their sibling vibes are so good, because they're both soft for each other.
Yeah.
Like, I love that, because they're both, like, put up a very, protective wall around themselves. Triss, which is very prickly, and Briar's, which is very just, like, he uses humor to, like, cover things up. So, they lower good. Those together. Sorry, I'm just... Then after the rest period is over, Triss leaves to go have lessons with Nico, and Briar goes to help Rosethorn.
Chapter 7. So this chapter sees the girls accepting their training and speaking to their respective training masters, which includes, so Sandry has trouble making the wool card and expects herself to be perfect the very first time she does it. There's a silly moment where Sandry scares the fibers and they fly away and cling to Lark's breast, and they're like babies hiding behind their mom, and I love it so much. But anyway, so Lark teaches her to coax the fibers instead of forcing them together, saying that they want to be together, just like we want to be together, but you can't force things together, which it is so cute to see her, like, literally take that the entire time while she is interacting with her new siblings, because she's like, okay, I won't force it. It's really cute.
Yeah,
anyway.
It is. It's such a... And it's specifically telling her as well, like, all of these fibers are very weak on their own, but they're strong together. And Sandry's like, gonna pop that one in the bank.
That's going on in there. All right. Triss goes with Nico to observe and learn about storms. Nico explains that you have to understand the nature of weather before you can mess with it, or you could throw everything out of whack. I feel like part of Triss takes this as a challenge to become more powerful than nature.
Sure does.
She sure does. Daja goes to see Frostpine and his apprentice, Kirill. Kirel
is how I would say it.
Yeah.
But
Kirill.
Whichever.
Sounds too much like Purell to me.
Kirill.
Kirill.
It's like Carol, but with a weird accent.
Yeah,
Kirill.
Hey, Kirill, come on over here. So she sees his apprentice, and he tells her that Frostpine is doing gold work, and he don't do no gold work. Kirill
notes, I'm his iron apprentice.
Yeah,
he's a goldsmith today.
Thank you. There's no sense in me touching gold. But he notes that Frostpine has been saying he will have an apprentice to help with gold soon. And she just goes, oh, that's cool. Walks in. Like, they really just ignore the signs because they're not looking for him because they're babies. They don't know to look for them.
Exactly.
Oh my god, it's so good. Frostpine casually pulls Daja into helping him, and then being taught how to work a fine metal like gold. He then surreptitiously talks her into using magic to call the gold to her, as well as doing the normal metal work. He then tells her that he wants to work with her in the afternoons. Yay. Daja asks Lark for permission to train with Frostpine, and Rosethorn is not surprised. And they're like, "Oh, we know him. He's a good man and a great smith, and you'll learn a lot." And just like, calm down, dear. Daja then has to bring up that she needs to wear smithing clothing, meaning she will have to take off her trader mourning clothes. Lark immediately understands her apprehension and says she will make the girl red headbands and armbands for her to wear in their stead. Taking this as an opportunity to clothe the girl properly, Lark gives her a bunch of clothes to try on, because then she could just wear her bands that still show that she's in mourning while being, weather appropriate. As they are talking, Lark lets it slip she used to be an acrobat and traveled around the world. Basically, Daja is made to fully understand that she is safe to practice her traditions without fear of persecution under this roof. I love Lark.
I love Lark so much.
And it is worth noting that she does a cartwheel down the hall at the end of that scene. For absolutely no reason, but I love
Other than just, like, she was adding credence to what she just
She's
told
like,
Daja.
See? I fucking told you.
I'm not lying.
And it is of note that Briar is conspicuously absent in this chapter. I don't know why.
So Triss wakes up to hear voices on the wind. She hears that the source of the voices are chasing after Briar. So she runs downstairs, getting a bunch of bruises on the way, followed by Sandry and Daja, who wake up to Triss just banging into everything, because I don't think she's wearing her glasses. But it... they let Briar in the front gate and then shut it, not letting the dedicates following him in. When they try to anyway, Sandry puts on her noble and forbids them from entering.
She legitimately slaps their hands.
She does.
Nope.
I forbid it. Oh, amazing.
Oh, so good.
It turns out that Briar's pursuer is Dedicate Crane again, who runs the greenhouse, who then accuses Briar of being Rosethorn's spy again. Rosethorn then offers to give Crane some of her tomatoes in exchange for Briar's prize, a bonsai tree, but here they're called shotguns, which Briar claims is sick and has been calling out to him in his dreams and everything. After discussions with Crane, Rosethorn comes into Briar's room and tells him that he has to care for the shotgun himself, and he's like, well, if someone would teach me to care for it. Yeah. And it's like, she's like, yes, we'll have to do it.
Look, I'm doing this for the plant, not for you, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally not for you. I
definitely
totally
no
am not
weak spot
soft
for you.
No.
No.
Don't care.
Ugh. I love Rosethorn. I feel like we should just end every chapter with, I love this character.
I mean, we have been.
We have been. Chapter 9, we get a cute scene where Triss has to teach the rich kid and the street urchin how to do basic housekeeping. She starts to feel superior because she thinks it is savage that Briar grew up without a house to clean. So Briar casually throws in that he lived in the sewer with rats, just to make her uncomfortable, because it's fun to make normies squirm. Sandry giggles. Gotta tell you, sometimes if you grew up in a rough way, when you're just brutally honest about the way you grew up, it can scare the shit out of people who grew up in, like, middle-class households.
Yeah. It's hilarious to do.
It's great.
I don't know, it's just one of the funniest things.
If you can do it, I highly recommend it. It is a great source of enjoyment. After meditation, the girls are all drawn to the roof, where they talk about the whole scene with Briar and Dedicate Crane. Triss asks why Sandry bothered to stand up for Briar, and Sandry counters by asking why Triss was so worried. Because they are connected, whether they like it or not. Briar overhears this conversation, but has the good sense not to mention to it. So basically, after meditation, all 4 of them just drifted up there. And I love it.
I love it so much.
So good. Rosethorn begins to teach Briar about caring for his shotgun, and the benefits it gets from pruning. She tries to explain that Briar can't just shower his plants with magic without saying he can't shower his plants with magic. She explains that overgrowth is the way you burn a plant out because it isn't putting energy where it needs it, which is a very important lesson to learn in general. I have to trim my mint plant because I didn't want to, but now those bits are dying, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Guess I gotta do that. Anyway,
It happens with my aloe plant.
Yeah. Ugh. Anyway, Sandry is mad she isn't an expert spinner in a week. And Lark is like, whoa kid, chill the fuck out. Take a walk. Enjoy the scenery. Sandry goes to get some air and finds Briar putting up a sill under his window for his shotgun. He was crying because pruning the plant hurt the plant and therefore him. Sandry, instead of, questioning why it would hurt him, goes, well, is it a bad hurt or a good hurt? Like, is it something painful or is it a good natural thing? Like something going where it belongs? And Briar likens it to pulling a baby tooth, which seems to put it into perspective for him as well as her. She asks to pet his tree. And he tells her as long as she doesn't scare or hurt it. I love them so much.
I know. They're just so good. This is such a pure, oh my god.
Oh, they're all so good. I love them so much. Daja works with Frostpine and Curl with some metal work. It's all going fine, and I love the way they all work together. But then Curl sees Daja catch a red-hot metal rod in her bare hands. And Frostpine stops him from distracting Daja, / drawing her attention to the fact that she did that. And also takes the metal rod with his bare hands, which she suddenly realizes, he hasn't been wearing gloves this whole time, has he? Afterward, Daja overhears Frostpine lecturing Kirill that he knew things would be strange in his shop. The apprentice shoots back, he didn't expect to see a little girl defying nature. Frostpine points out that Kirill has seen him do it on countless occasions, but Kirill counters that Frostpine is a great smith mage who has studied it for decades, not a little girl who comes by it naturally. And she just sort of tucks that away in her mind and doesn't think about it. It's like, Daja.
That's for a later date.
That's going up in the vaults. That night, oh my god, and right down to the sea imagery. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That night, the children are exhausted, and it's a good thing, too, because they need to get to bed early. Lark and Rosethorn announce they will be leaving before dawn to travel to the market and sell some wares.
They all go to the market at dawn, and after a busy morning of tending the stall, they have midday and the children are sent with some money to enjoy the market. After spending their money on various things, mostly sweets, Sandra hears an animal being harmed. She runs towards the sound and finds some boys torturing a puppy. She then starts a literal fistfight with these boys, because of course she does, she's Sandry. Daja then joins the fray to protect Sandry. She sees it from across, she's like, oh, I gotta go protect this friend.
Oh, this kid.
God, well, she's Sati. You know how it is. That means, true friend.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Then Briar joins in, but mostly because the fight looks like fun. He's just talking to some street urchins, and then across the way, the street urchins are like, wow, can you see that? And he's like, yep, see you boys, I'm off to join the fight.
Those are my sisters, I'll be back.
When Triss sees what's happening, she doesn't know what to do because she doesn't want to go get hurt, and she knows that she's no help in a fight. So she decides to reach down to the harbor and pull some water up to dump on the fight to break it up. This is just like, yeah, I'll just do this. But as
that's what people do to break up fights. They dump water on them.
Yeah, and I can just get the water from there to here. But someone bumps into her, turning her around, which in turn causes Triss's water to become a water spout, and it gets out of her control, and it comes right to her. The water spout beats the shit out of the boys, but when it moves towards the puppy, Triss tries to stop it. I love her priorities. But it won't listen. Lark saves the day by thinking on her feet and using her spinning magic to unspin the water spout, which I love.
So good.
And that's a point where Nico legit is just like, yes, this can happen. No, that's later. But it's still this fucking thing. The water spout, nope.
They try to leave.
They try to leave before anyone realizes that they were the reason for all the chaos, but they are met by a mob who demand them to pay. But just at that moment, Duke Vedris and Nico arrive on horseback. After hearing what Sandry has to say about the incident, he offers to pay for the healer's bills of the boys, but then says that anyone who claims the reimbursement must also pay the fine for cruelty to animals, which means none of them take him up on it.
Well, only if when they speak to a truthsayer, they can deny the charges of animal abuse, which they cannot.
So, the last bit of business with the mob is Triss's use of magic. Vedris declares that she is confined to Winding Circle until Nico can get her magic under control. Finally, the mob disperses. They all go out to eat with Vedris, which I love. And then Briar and Rosethorn have a really cute scene about his magic, page 145. He put a hand on her arm. Nico is wrong. I'm no mage. Rosethorn looked meaningful at the hand on her sleeve until he withdrew it, a blush staining his gold-brown cheeks. It's no accident that Nico was at your sentencing. He had a premonition of a boy with green magic in him. I knew he was right when I heard my bean plants welcome you. You got them all excited, my buck. They wanted to throw out seed pods a month early. I had to be stern with them. That ain't magic, he protested. Of course it is, and important magic at that. The most important to my way of thinking. You don't need to share that with Lark or Nico. I'm a thief, he protested. I bet you had a lot of plants like moss and mushrooms in whatever hole you lived in, she said, her dark eyes sharp. I bet strange things happened to you in rich man's gardens. The boy hung his head, rubbing a thumb over the deep scars in his palm. Rosethorn touched the hand. Her fingertips found each large, dimpled pock left by the vine whose name he had taken. I just love it.
It's so good.
And it's just, I totally didn't even include the part where he hugs Rosethorn because she says she'll help him take care of the shotgun earlier. He literally just goes and hugs her and makes her just, like, basically blush. Like,
get out of here.
No, I'm not mothering you. What are you talking about? No, wait,
there's not a mothering bone in my body.
No. Have some more porridge. On their way back in the cart, they named the puppy Little Bear. I would die for Little Bear.
Yes.
The children discuss the new knowledge that they all have magic. Sandry has a cute scene with her uncle. Then there's an earthquake that Triss warns before it happens. It sounds like I just said she warns the earthquake. No, she warns about the... I'm just going to stop trying. After the earthquake, the children tell Nico that he will talk with them. He basically tells them...
Sorry, I was just going to say, and Rosethorn goes, oh, well, if you're going to speak with the children, I'm just going to go on over. I'll take your horse in for you. And he's like, you coward.
Yeah. He explains that they all have ambient magic, not academic, but not in those words yet, which is why magic testers didn't find them. After this talk, the children fall asleep in the wagon on their way home to discipline. But he didn't want to limit their way of thinking. I skipped that line. So he didn't want to tell them that they had magic. He wanted them to come at the situations open-minded, because if you tell a child you're a smith mage and you go into a smithy and it's not immediately easy for you, you're going to get discouraged and stuff, and it's going to limit your way of thinking about it, as opposed to just sending her into a smithy with a smith mage and just kind of letting her experience it and, like, forming her own ideas about, like, her relationship to metal and heat and stuff in that way.
Yeah, or even harder, like, he talks about, telling Triss, oh yeah, no, you're a weather mage, and since she doesn't believe that, her shutting down and being unwilling to find it out.
Yeah,
it's good. Yeah, again, I love Nico in this. I don't think I really appreciated Nico's contributions the first time through, or the second time through of reading these books.
Yeah,
I got it this time. Yeah, chapter 11. The next day, Nico explains the importance of meditating, and now that they know they have magic. He tells them they're meant to learn the discipline to use their magic in a safe way. This is why the cottage is named as such. Daja races to Frostpine as quickly as she can and asks him why he never said anything about her magic. Frostpine basically says that wasn't necessary to the start. He's just like, because you don't need that to do metal work.
Yeah.
Frostpine basically says, did I say that twice?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I meant write it twice. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No.
Frostpine basically says that it wasn't necessary at the start, that she needed to learn metalwork first, and the magic would come later. She tells him she wants to learn everything, and he quickly obliges. He asks her to tell him what kind of metals he has under cloths before she looks at them. He wants her to use magic to sense the metals. She guesses some easy, but when she gets to one that confuses her, she has to figure out why. It's bronze, because it's copper and tin. And they just have this adorable little metal nerd moment, because they're like, yeah. Oh, you almost got me. I did. Good job, Slater girl.
Yeah, I really like she didn't even have to touch the gold to know what it was.
Like, I know that one.
I know that one from a mile away.
We get a really cute family moment where the kids are studying things and the moms are chilling. Briar is interested in Sandry's drop spindle and says he wants to learn how. Rosethorn encourages him because it's a good skill, especially for someone who needs string in gardening. All the while, Sandry's wool has gotten stuck to Briar and she has to use magic deliberately for the first time.
Yeah.
So good. The kids set about their new studies alongside their chores and meditation work. They are hanging out one day and Triss asked why Daja is called Trongshi.
Because Briar will just jokingly call her Trongshi, and she doesn't take it as a bad thing from him because she knows he's using it ironically.
Yeah. The other three explain it means essentially bad luck, and Triss can't imagine what Daja could have done to deserve the title. Daja explains about her ship sinking and her family dying, and the babbies are notably closer for it. And Sandry's like, maybe Briar can stop calling her that then? And he's like, oh no, it doesn't matter what I say. You don't have to care about what a track says. Or a cack says. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Track. What the fuck is that?
K-A-Q, just for people to know.
K-A-Q. Yeah.
Cack is how I was pronouncing it in my head.
I pronounce it cock every single time in my head.
I don't think it's supposed to be cock.
I don't think it is either, but that's how my brain does it.
Sure.
But it's a cute scene with Daja and Briar teasing each other, and he's pestering Sandry by tickling her neck with straw, and then totally acting like he's not doing anything, and they're just so good. Anyway.
And then doesn't she use the straw to, hit him or something? With her magic?
Maybe. That sounds right. Because they also discuss, he's like, so, Trongshi, tell us what you're being taught from Frostpine. And they're all, I love how interested they all are in each other's teachings.
And the fact that they all start learning spinning.
Oh, so good. Anyway, the day before Midsummer, Triss, with Little Bear at her side, sneaks out to see if she can control the waves. As I said, she's decided that it's a challenge to control nature, or to become more powerful than nature.
Other people who did this died, but I'm built different.
I'm built different, okay? I am to
all those people. Rip to all those other people who died from doing this.
9 out of 10 don't survive the training. Well, I mean, come on.
But, sucks to be them. They're not me.
They're not Stormkiller, as she named herself earlier in the book. Sorry. This is, of course, a bad idea, and ends with a rock, which was acting as her receptacle for the power, exploding, and Nico lecturing her. Luckily, Nico brought Kirill, knowing he would need him to carry Triss back to the cottage, because I assume Nico's limbs are like toothpicks, and he can't pick up anything if he tried. So, you know.
For some reason, I saw Nico as looking kind of like Edgar Allan Poe, and I don't know why. In this this time reading it, I just kept seeing him looking like that because he has a mustache because he constantly, like, strokes it. He has, like, dark hair and dark eyes, and I don't know. It's just...
That's another thing I love about this book is how many characters have dark eyes.
I know, it's awesome.
Lark has black eyes sometimes, or sometimes they're like a warm brown.
Yeah.
Depending.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Triss isn't well enough to attend Midsummer Festival, you know, because of that thing she just did. But that ends up being lucky as well. A set of earthquakes rolls through, and Triss, trying to get to safety, notices Briar's shotgun and the shelf are about to fall. She exerts her last bit of energy, saving the plant. Briar can't say thank you, but he teases Triss and helps her get back inside.
Come on, Grandma, let's get you inside. During meditation one day, Nico gets called away. When he returns, he tells them all that he'll be absent for a while. There are a bunch of messages about the future coming in, and he has to help the temple sort through them to see what's going to happen, which is a huge issue. After a few weeks, Nico comes back to them, thoroughly exhausted, with news of what's to come, a huge earthquake at another Living Circle temple. The messages were sent out, and the man in charge of that temple sent a very cryptic message back, saying that everyone will be surprised. It's like, no. Sir, what? Apparently he has invented windmills as well, but everyone's distrustful of it because they're saying, he uses that machine to turn air magic into lightning magic, and it's like...
Now they're really not going to trust it.
Now they're never going to trust electricity. Sandry has a nightmare of the night where she found her dead parents, in their bed, holding each other, covered in smallpox sores. She comes in to find them dead. And at the end of the dream, all of the lights go out and she is alone in the darkness. She wakes up and realizes that her lamp has gone out, which caused the bad dream. The next day, everyone wakes up and feels restless and irritable, my normal state. And the adults shoo the children off. The kids take the little bear for a walk until he spots a mouse and runs off after it. They follow him to the cliffs and into a cave with just a lantern for light. They follow him deeper into the cave until suddenly he runs back to them, terrified. Then Triss warns them that an earthquake is coming. When the earthquake happens, they are trapped and the lantern has been crushed, leaving them in the dark. Sandry has a mini breakdown about the dark, but the other children keep their heads. It's so sad that Sandry's having this freak out and everyone wants to, deal with that, but their own lives are at stake, so they're having to just, ignore her to try and, make them in this stable. It feels awful. Very well done. Daja acts first, using her magic to turn the rubble about to crush them into the shape of her Saraku, her survival box. So she makes it a survival box again. Triss then uses her magic and creates an air vent from their location up to the surface. Then Daja and Briar, speaking through their magic without noticing, they're just talking telepathically now, as you do with your best friends. That they are able to use their powers in their own ways to tamp the earth above them back so that they're safe in their little box. So, she literally, Daja thinks of it as, hitting it with a hammer at the smith, and then Briar's thinking of it as using a trowel to tamp down earth. I love it. They all have a moment with Sandry explaining why she's so terrified. Then Triss interrupts to say that another earthquake is coming, but this one contains magic as well.
And I'm going to need your help describing the last chapter because it's very cerebral chapter because most of the action on the kid's part is metaphysical.
Yeah.
So, and it's just very plainly described. She doesn't try to over describe things. She's just okay, and then they did this. because that's what they could do. So, okay, the babies know that they need to act or die, according to Dasha. So they try to use their magic individually. They then realize they need to use their magic all together. They form a circle of magic, including holding hands and concentrating their powers. So I'm covering the bear things, and then Risa is going to interject with things, okay? So, Sandry is using spinning to focus their powers. Triss controls lava, and Daja metal in the earth to sort of, like, reinforce security, while Briar draws from the power of plants around him, including the 140-plus-year-old power in his shotgun. They weave their magic together until the earth stops moving.
Yeah, like, pretty much.
I mean,
like,
that's...
specific, and the whole thing is, like, they were like, Daja, can you take the metals around us and, like, make them into something? And she tries, and she's like, no, I need heat.
I need heat.
And Triss is like, well, I can, reach down and get the lava, there's lava down under us. And Daja's like, I can't reach that far. And Triss is like, I can, but I can't melt metal. So that's when...
and Briar's like, well, if only we could use these magic things together.
And Sandry's just like, oh my gosh, on their own they're weak, but together they're strong. So she makes them all grab a lump each on the first piece of string she ever made, which the 4 lumps. So she has them all grab a lump, and she says to put their, like, a little bit of themselves into it. So it's like Daja, puts in, like, the smell of metal or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like always, it's like,
yeah,
it's so, I love it so much. And then Sandry uses that as a leader thread on her spindle when she's spinning their energies together and helping them all, like, create strength from one another. Mm-hmm. And just kind of melds them as well.
Yeah, and as the process goes, they all have discovered that they are magically connected and can speak telepathically from here on out.
Yeah. But then everything gets, like, it's too much when the earthquake hits.
Mm-hmm.
And they all start feeling like...
They're like, are we going to be able to hold this?
Yeah, basically they're like, they can't access, like, the shotgun and stuff like that anymore. The spindle faltered, the threads that connected them began to fade in Sandry's magical vision. The shotgun started to draw away from Briar. Triss broke the other's grips of her hands, scrabbling through the water she sensed, outside her reach. So it's like, they're all breaking apart because, like, it's just so much. However, thankfully, the entire cave that they're in gets brought to the surface. Their little survival box that they're in gets brought to the surface by earth dedicates, who just bring them all the way up. And then all of their teachers are there.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like when Nancy gets out of the tomb in Secret of the Scarlet Hand. Anyway.
Yeah, but no one is just...
but nobody rhymes.
No one is talking in verse. And that's a little bit of Peppered and Nancy Drew stuff for you Just Tortall Sisters listeners.
But Rosethorn, I don't care for children, is like, she's just basically trying to get through to the kids without killing the roots of the things that are protecting them.
No, you idiot, you'll kill the roots.
It's just, it's so good. And so basically from there on, we do get to know that the children are more connected. Triss offers to teach Briar to read, which he's been keeping secret the whole time. She's like, I saw that you don't actually read what's on the chore board. You wait until everybody else is doing their chores to find out what yours is. She's just like, I can help you. And in the end,
so what that all starts, I love it, is Briar comes along and finds Triss just messing with something, and he's like, what are you doing? And she's all embarrassed, and then she shows it's a crystal she's trying to put light into for Sandry. And he's like, fine, let me help. And then they're both bent over it, and Daja comes in, and she's like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, nothing. And so then Daja helps them.
And so they give Sandry
"You better
a nightlight
let me help," Daja said. Dodge put the stone in her cupped palms. Briar cradled her hands, and with his, Triss covered them. 3 sets of lungs began a long, steady breath.
And so they imbue it with magic and give it to Sandry so that she never has to be afraid of the dark again.
And they give her a little pouch to put it in so that she always has light with her. I love it so much. It's so thoughtful. And just like, as you guys might have guessed, we like the book.
We do. Quite a bit.
I said on my Goodreads review, reading this book is like a lazy late August afternoon. And I don't know how else to describe it. Yeah.
No, it is. It's just, and I have to tell you, reading the copy that Risa always had, and I told Risa, but I found little teeth marks where our cat liked to try to get attention while we were reading, so she'd bite books. But yeah, it's everything about the whole experience is just so comfy.
It is.
Because there are high stakes, but they're not so high that, like, it ruins this story about these little kids. You know what I mean?
It's not about, like, nations having huge wars. It's not about, just threats to the entire human race and stuff like that. It's 4 children coming together and overcoming their past traumas to be able to create something new and be part of a family. Mm-hmm. And I think that is so pure and just, it left a very big impression on me, I think. Yeah. I just think it is so lovingly told and just, it is. You just feel the care that was put into it, and like the love and the world building. Mm-hmm. And just like the way that, they describe certain things being like what other children, like not every character in the world knows everything that we would know, So it's not like they all know what cinnamon is. It's not, they don't all know like what a porcupine is. Yeah. I think that's just, she just makes all of the different nations feel so, what's the word? Not unique, but along that line.
There's there's a disparate nature. Like,
I think it's just very defined. Yeah. Maybe?
That's, there's a definite huge, especially when we get later in the books, the difference in culture from one place to another is just leaps and bounds. It's
so amazing. It's like
all unique and
like in one book, they're in a place where everyone gets everywhere on ice skates. Everyone just ice skates everywhere.
I remembered that detail like halfway through this book, and I started laughing like crazy because we were listening to something talking about is it Batman Forever where they kick the skates out?
I don't know.
Whatever. That stupid scene, they described it, and I went, oh my god, I'm going to get to read a book where they're skating around in a village and fighting fires.
Yeah. That's one of the ones I bought at the... Yeah. I'm like, good, because that's... I'm always happy to have a copy of that in my life. Yes.
But yeah.
Favorite characters?
Oh my god, there's too many. I love them all so much.
But like I said, Briar just really... Yeah. I'm gonna claim Briar as my favorite right now. I love this stupid child.
I love him so much.
He's so, like matter of fact about everything. Yeah. And I love him.
Yeah, I love all of the babies. I love all of the grown-ups and their love for the children. Yeah. Like, it's all very cute and evident, and okay, when Triss gets picked up by Kirill And he throws her over his shoulder, and she's like, this is embarrassing. And but before he does that, he goes, oh, you live with Daja, right? You're the crabby one, or grouchy one, or whatever. So it's like, yeah, they talk about each other when they're at their things. So it's like, oh.
They love each other. From the first moment they meet, they all are like, yes, we are siblings now. But no, we're not. We'll never be. We're not connected. No. Leave me alone. Just because we live together.
This is one I'd like to see turned into a series or something. Yeah. Like this would be a good one to animate or to do live action. Either way. Yeah. This is a story that needs to just be like... yeah. This is so good. The constant theme of found family, but not like beating people over the head with it.
Yeah, it's like they're all people who just opened up to each other and they connected and all of them let down their guards in some way or another. And it's just not that Sandry ever had a guard.
No,
she's a very Usagi character.
She really is.
She's just gonna go in, and as Sailor Moon, she's just gonna adopt you as a friend, and you really have no say about it.
Guess what? You are now going to be eating your meals with her, and if you don't, she will cry.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but I don't know. I think this read-through I really loved Sandry and Daja.
Yeah.
Like, just...
Daja
their relationship, their instant relationship is great, but then also them individually, they're so good, and they're so... they're ones who, because each of them pair up in certain ways. Like, well, yeah, anyway, but Sandry and Daja are the ones who feel a level of responsibility. And it's just interesting to watch them going through that, and it's so good.
Yeah.
Guys, it's so good.
It's so good. Is there anything we don't like about it?
I don't like that my babies had to endure that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like that they throw children away. I don't like that.
I mostly, but those are all things that we're not supposed to like.
Yeah.
What I actually don't like is that, like we said at the beginning, this isn't Sandry's book.
It isn't.
I mean, the way that it's Sandry's book is that she has the idea to spin all their power together and come back into it, and like, well, she's brought them together, and she's the one who kind of saves the day then by being able to spin all their powers together.
She spends the whole time like sort of starting to form them, and so that everybody's starting to become more and more intertwined. There's less of the like one-on-ones and more of them being all together, all four of them, or maybe just three of them at a time. Either way, like they're becoming more together, more intertwined. And so I think she is their linchpin.
Yeah.
Which I think is why Will of the Empress ends up working out the way it does.
Oh, but Will of the Empress is way more a Sandry book than this one ever could be. Yeah,
hang in there, Sandry lovers, because
Will of the Empress is amazing.
That's her book.
Yeah, but don't expect Magic Steps to really be about her either, because it's not. Poor Sandry. She really just gets the short end of the stick. But yeah. Yeah, that's the book. Do we have a headcanon about it?
I did, but now I don't.
I have
I thought a couple of them.
Frostpine just doesn't wear shirts. I don't think he ever wears any shirts. And if he does have to wear a shirt, he leaves it unbuttoned all the way. That's just Frostpine in my head. I want you guys to understand that I imagine Frostpine very sexy.
Oh, God, yes.
I'm just like... Yes. I imagine him very sexy. He's strong. But he's got that, like, actual strong person strong, not dehydrated Hollywood man strong.
Right.
You know.
Practical strong.
Yeah. We also know that he's wiry. So, like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. Yeah, that's the book.
Yeah.
What do we read? Oh, wait, what's your headcanon? I just said mine a lot.
Shit, I really don't remember what one I had. Oh well, I don't have one for this book. I feel like everything is
in text.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, what are we reading next month, sister?
Well, next month is, I believe, Briar's book?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Is it Triss's book?
Yes, Triss's book.
Okay. I'm like...
Yes.
I know
Triss's
Tasha's is third,
next.
because
It's
for some reason, at the end of Sandry's book, it says, look for Daja's book. And I'm like, why wouldn't you advertise the next one in the book series?
Because Daja's book is the one that they could sell you in a hardcover of, Ariana.
Oh, right, true.
Obviously, come on, pay attention. Why would they want to sell you a paperback? But yeah, it's good. We love you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, love you, bye. But you guys can find us anywhere you want to find us. And honestly,
just call my name and I'll be there.
If you want to give us money instead, give it to Tamora Pierce. To support her feral cat colony.
Fuck yeah.
And her writing more books, because we need more books, Tammy.
That too. Yeah.
What can we do for you?
How can we facilitate this?
Just please let us help you. But yeah, so I'm Risa.
I'm Ariana. And we hope you guys keep reading.